Financial Planner, follow us on YouTube.
Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, we've been talking about this for quite a while, where the cabal, and I'm going to use what London Paul calls the deep state, the elite, he just calls them the cabal. So I'm going to use the cabal term. And the cabal right now, they are trying to push Trump out. Now, many people can believe this or not. It doesn't really make a difference at this point, because we can see already through the corporate media, CNN and many others, they are pushing the 25th Amendment, where they're saying that, President Trump, he is mentally ill. They're going to be using Section 4 of the 25th Amendment, and that states the following: whenever the Vice President and a majority of either the principal officers of the executive departments or of such other body as Congress may by law provide, transmit to the President pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the President is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the Vice President shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as the acting President. And we can see on CNN where they're pushing the idea that, yes, it's time to remove him. They're pushing the idea of the 25th Amendment. And when you really think about it, and you really look at what has happened since he became president, the corporate media, the cabal, has been telling us the following: that Trump could not win the election. They were completely wrong, because he was a joke. Clinton was going to win. Trump ended up winning, even though they told us he wasn't going to. But he won because of the Russian hackers. And since Trump was helped by the Russian hackers, he must have colluded with them. If Trump colluded with them, he should be impeached. We need a special prosecutor. Bring in Mueller. Since the Mueller investigation is taking forever and there's nothing there, well, let's remove him for daring to suggest that Antifa was involved in Charlottesville. And let's remove him because, he's questioning these individuals that came out of nowhere that didn't have a permit and started to club people because they were exercising free speech. I mean, think about what they're saying right now. Think about what they've done and all the lies they have told. That they found out, that we all found out that they did lie. I mean, this is evil at its core. I mean, think about all the propaganda and everything they made up. And again, we see that Project Veritas, they went undercover, and they even proved that the whole entire Russian collusion thing was fake, phony, and false. These individuals who were never elected, these individuals that want to keep their control, these individuals that like the free money from the central bank, these individuals that work for foreign governments, these individuals that work for corporations and special interest groups, they want to keep what they have. Now, Trump is supposed to come out with this speech tonight, Monday. And he's going to discuss what is happening in Afghanistan. Now, we know Bannon has been pushed out, and we can see that Pence and Mattis are now in his ear. Now, of course, this might be part of Trump's strategy, where Bannon is going to attack from the outside to try to help Trump, because there was not much he could do from the inside. But we see already that if he decides to send more troops, and we can see the corporate media is already out there saying that he's going to be sending more troops is not going to help the situation. We didn't elect a president to bring us more war. We elected a president to bring our troops back home, to stop the empire building of the cabal, to stop the regime change around the world. We elected a president to bring everything back to America and make America great again. I mean, that was his whole slogan. So tonight we're going to see what he actually does. And this will give us some sense of where he is headed. Because once again, we're at this crossroads. He does not have control of the government. There are still a lot of individuals in there, and you can see it every single day, where they want him completely out. And you can see that the cabal, they won't stop. They're going to continually push, push, and push. Think about what has happened already. We haven't brought troops into Syria. Russia and Syria, they've been pushing the paid mercenaries completely out of the country. They've been setting up de-escalation zones. And right now, they've gained control of a lot of the borders already. Iraq has pushed out the paid mercenaries, the Islamic State, and they have gained control. They want the United States out of their country. Soon, you know it's going to happen. Syria and Russia are going to say there's no need for the United States to be there. Trump is prepared to remove the troops from Syria. I think he was prepared to remove troops from Afghanistan. But right now, we can see that this isn't happening. Now, Russia is out there, and they're saying that the drug problem in Afghanistan, it is worse than ever. And since the United States has been in Afghanistan, the opium production has increased. Right now, Afghanistan is the leader in the largest producer and exporter of opium, and it's all coming from Afghanistan. We know that the intelligence agencies, they control the poppy fields. These poppy fields, the revenue that they get from it is estimated at $400 million. And Russia is looking at the situation saying, just like in Syria when the United States was going after the Islamic State and they expanded the land and they kept moving and they kept capturing more towns and villages, the same thing is happening in Afghanistan. They're creating more poppy fields. They're producing more drugs. They're exporting more than they've ever done before. And we can see right now, it's time to stop this. It's time to cut these intelligence agencies off. It's time to cut the cabal off. It's time to stop and cut their funding. And if Trump can't do it, he needs to step aside and let someone else do it. So we will see what happens tonight. We will see what he comes up with. And I know he's been working on this plan, but we can see that we're moving towards this period where if he doesn't start to do something, where he doesn't start to push back, they're going to run over him, and he'll be left in the dust. And we will be back to the exact same spot where we were before he was elected. That means we're going to be going to war. That means we're going to have more regime change. We're going to have more censorship. I mean, think about what is happening right now with Google, YouTube. The censoring is unbelievable. Even on Patreon. It's all over the place because the cabal is pushing their agenda so hard. They want full control of everything. They don't want to give this up. And their tentacles, they are in every corporation. They're throughout the corporate media. They're in government. And you can see they are desperate to maintain what they had, and they don't want to let go. We can see out in Spain, the Barcelona terrorist attack. Why do you think that happened? Well, Catalonia, they're preparing for a unilateral referendum, which is supposed to happen, and they're going to try to vote for independence on October 1st, 2017. So it's not really surprising that we're seeing terrorist activity in Spain, because this is how they shut things down. This is how they stop people from doing what they really want. They say, no, you have to stay together. Look, the terrorists are coming to get you. Don't do anything. Don't vote on this referendum. We might even have to cancel it. We see the U.S. is making it very difficult for Russia, where Russians who are traveling to the U.S. as tourists, well, now it's going to be a lot tougher to get their visa. Before they were able to go to a local area near where they lived, now they have to travel all the way to Moscow. So basically the United States is making it very difficult for the people of Russia to get a visa to the United States. And of course, this is being done on purpose. We see the USS John S. McCain, which is very interesting, smashed into an oil tanker near the Straits of Malacca. And we see, once again, there's another Navy ship which collided with another ship. 2 months ago, 7 U.S. sailors died after a U.S. Navy destroyer, USS Fitzgerald, collided with a merchant vessel off the coast of Japan. And we can see there's quite a bit of damage in the Navy. And right now, the U.S. Navy halted the Pacific Fleet operations. And we can see right now they're reviewing everything. And once again, how do you miss a gigantic oil tanker? So we see once again there are major problems there. We see Iran is out there, the Iranian judiciary. They've issued a ruling demanding that the U.S. government pay around $245 million in damages to a number of victims of chemical attacks carried out by Saddam Hussein's troops during the 1980 to 1988 imposed war on Iran. And they're saying that the U.S. supplied Saddam Hussein with chemical weapons, which we know this is true. They used them against Iranian people. And the Iranians are saying, you need to pay up. Now, think about this. If other countries start to turn around and say, listen, you came in and had regime change in our country, you used chemical weapons, you released paid mercenaries, you owe us $300 million. You owe us $700 billion. And if this continues, because think about all the countries that the cabal has gone in and done this to. Look at Iraq, look at Syria, look at all the infrastructure damage. Look at Lebanon, Libya, Sudan, Ukraine, Somalia, and many others. And once again, these countries, if they band together and they start calling out the United States, they're going to want money to repair all the damage the cabal has done. And again, this is the first case that we are seeing right now. We see the U.S.-backed rebels. Well, they had to retreat a little bit on the Jordanian border. They had a failed offensive. And right now, it looks like the Syrian army is maintaining control of the border between Syria and Jordan. And it looks like it's very difficult for the USS-backed rebels. And it looks like at this point that the borders are going to be controlled by Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Syria, Iraq, Syria, and it's going to be very, very difficult to get supplies in and out. And we can see right now that the Islamic State, the paid mercenary terrorists, they are surrounded right now, and things are definitely not going that well. Assad is out there, and he's saying that any form of constructive dialogue with the West and its regional allies will only be possible after they stop supporting the terrorists. They all know that the coalition forces, they have been supporting the terrorists. They have all the proof. They know exactly what is being done there. Russia knows exactly what has been done there. Trump knows exactly what has been done there. And we can see right now that probably in the next couple of months, Russia and Syria, they're going to have full control of Syria once again. Iraq has full control. They are siding with Iran. And we can see right now the cabal, they are losing their grip on the Middle East. And what we're seeing right now is they realize this. This is why there's such a push to get rid of Trump, because he didn't help the situation out in the Middle East for the cabal. He made it worse for them. And before everything is all said and done, they need to change things up very, very quickly, or else they are done for. And this is where we sit right now. Because Trump, well, it's either he can side with the cabal and the neocons and the rest, or he can stand up, and you know, since he's the president, he must have a lot of information on all these individuals. Do you think he's been spending all this time in the White House not gathering intel to be used later on? I mean, that's what I would do. I think it's almost time where he starts saying to the American people, listen, here's the proof. Here are all the emails from Clinton. Here's everything the intelligence agencies have been doing. These are the rogue organizations that have been in control of the United States. And we need to stop them. I'm putting this out on the table. Now, again, the problem is the corporate media. The problem is they control the mouthpiece. They control the huge organization. And this is why everyone who is looking for the truth, everyone that wants to hear the truth, they need to tell others to say, listen, this is not about Republican. This is not about Democrat. This is about our way of life. Because if we don't start changing things, if we don't remove evil from this country, evil will stay and evil will continually take control. And it's going to get a lot worse. I know people think it's going to get a lot better, but if they're in control, they will bring us to war because their system's dying. This is what they've done in the past. As their system dies, they like to cover it up. They like to rev up the war machine. So the banks, the central banking system, creates more currency. They support the war. They drive the war. And guess what? Governments need their currency. They need to borrow more. And then after the war is done, the central bankers don't lose out. All the countries come together. Hey, let's start a new system. Let's erase what we had before, and let's start a new system, and everyone needs to borrow because you need to rebuild. So we'll start fresh after the war because everything is a mess, and the central banks will then loan the currency out to all the governments, to all the different countries, and enslave the people once again. They've done this in the past. They're trying to do it in the future. So we're at this fork in the road, and it all depends on what path Trump takes. Because if he goes down the path of the cabal, all is lost. So we're going to have to see and watch very closely what his decisions are. Because if he doesn't start producing and he starts calling out people instead of just saying fake news all the time, he's not going to be able to implement his strategies for the future of America. He will not be able to bring back manufacturing. He will not be able to basically bring us through the transition, get rid of the central bank. What we'll end up with is war. We will end up with the TPP or something exactly like it. They'll just change the name so you think it's different. We'll end up with a court system that sits on top of every single government. We will have a one world government. They will tell you what to say. They will tell you what to think. They will tell you what to believe. And they will control everything that you do. Where do you think this was all headed? Did you think that they were just going to say, hey, let Trump in, we don't care? No, we were headed towards that. Actually, it was almost complete. If they got the TPP through, game over. Because that meant they would have their court system sitting above every single government. That means, behind the scenes, they would control everything. And they've lost that right now. So we still have a chance, but guess what's happening? The flame is going out unless Trump comes up with something, and we're going to have to see his actions.